Jack stood by the chain-link fence, his boots dusty from the construction site. He had just turned 20. His legs could not stop shaking as he stared at the dog tied up in the yard of the lumber supply depot, right next to the old abandoned factory. Could it really be true? Could Sonny, the dog that was taken away in a truck 10 years ago, the day everything was stolen from him, have actually returned? This story begins 10 years ago. Back then, Jack was just a 10-year-old boy with a heart full of scars. Almost every night, the sound of his parents fighting echoed through the thin walls of their small suburban house. The sound of crashing plates mixed with the noise of his mother aggressively washing dishes. The slamming of doors, the sound of his mother sobbing. Jack would pull his heavy quilt over his head, but he could never escape the noise. Early one morning, his mother walked out of the house carrying a single small suitcase. When Jack woke up, her room was completely empty. "Jack, I am just going out for a little bit, okay?" But that little bit turned into forever. Jack sat by the window for days, waiting, thinking maybe she would come back. But she never did. Not long after, his father brought a new woman into the house. Her name was Linda. Linda was not a bad person. In fact, she tried very hard to be kind to Jack. However, Jack just could not get used to her. It felt incredibly strange to see someone who was not his real mother sitting in his mother's spot at the dinner table. His father remained as silent as ever. He was never a man of many words. But after Jack's mother left, he became even more withdrawn. He never asked Jack about school or if he was getting along with his friends. "Did you eat dinner? Did you do your homework?" He only spoke in necessary, business-like sentences. Jack began to close his heart off more and more. At school, he did not join the circle of friends. He spent most of his time sitting alone in the corner of the playground. Even when he came home, he spent long hours locked in his bedroom. Hope arrived for Jack when Mrs. Miller, the neighbor next door, had a dog that gave birth to puppies. Mrs. Miller knew about Jack's family situation better than anyone. She had seen the changes in Jack and heard the noise from across the fence. "Jack, honey, why don't you try raising one of these puppies? I think you would do a great job." Mrs. Miller handed Jack a small puppy with beautiful black and white fur and golden markings. It was a tiny Border Collie whose eyes had barely opened. In that moment, Jack felt like he had been given the most precious thing in the world. "Sonny, from today on, we are going to live together." Jack named the puppy Sonny. He chose the name because the golden markings on the puppy's fur shone like the morning sun breaking through the darkness. Sonny became Jack's only friend. When Jack came home from school, Sonny would be waiting on the porch, wagging his tail, the moment the dog heard the sound of the gate latch opening. He would rush over happily and tangle himself around Jack's legs. At night, when Jack felt scared and alone, Sonny would snuggle up next to him, and Jack would fall asleep feeling the dog's warmth. Whenever he felt like he was all alone in this world, Sonny was always right there beside him. Only when he was with Sonny could Jack laugh from the bottom of his heart. He told Sonny about what happened at school, and sometimes, he confided in the dog about how much he missed his mother. Sonny would tilt his head in wonder, as if he were listening to every word Jack said. However, the happy times did not last long. One afternoon, when Jack came home from school, he felt something was wrong. Sonny, who always greeted him at the door, was nowhere to be seen. The yard was dead silent. "Sonny, Sonny." Jack searched inside the house and all around the outside. He checked Sonny's favorite spots and his secret hiding place for naps. But the dog was nowhere to be found. Jack's heart began to pound rapidly in his chest. At that moment, he ran into his stepmother, Linda, who had just returned from grocery shopping. "Mum, Linda, where did Sonny go?" Linda's expression clouded over. "Jack, well, you see." She started to say something but then closed her mouth. From the look on her face, Jack intuitively realized that something terrible had happened. At that exact moment, the sound of a truck engine came from the alleyway. It was a sound accompanied by an unfamiliar, ominous rattle. Jack instinctively started running in that direction. And then, he saw it. He saw Sonny in the back of a truck fitted with iron cages, desperately trying to bark. "Sonny, Sonny!" Jack chased after the truck like a madman, but with his child-sized legs, there was no way he could catch up to a truck that was roaring its engine and speeding away. Sonny's cries grew quieter and quieter until they faded into the distance. That day, Jack collapsed in the middle of the alley and cried out loud. The creature that loved him the most, and the creature he loved the most, had vanished right before his eyes. That night, he hated Linda. He was sure that his stepmother had thrown Sonny away. He thought that she considered him a nuisance, and so she had discarded his precious Sonny too. Even as years passed, the pain of that day remained as a deep scar in Jack's heart. One that did not heal easily even as he became an adult. 10 years passed. Jack, now 20 years old, was living alone. It was a small studio apartment, but he liked having a space that was his own. It was a free life where no one interfered, and he did not have to worry about anyone else's mood. Jack made a living as a construction worker. It was back-breaking labor, but he felt a sense of purpose. He was happy that he could earn honest money through his own hard work. And more than anything, he was happy that the guys at the site respected him. "Jack, good work today, Mr. Thompson," the site foreman said as he patted Jack on the shoulder. Jack was grateful for moments like that. It was a warmth he had never been able to feel at home when he was a child. However, there was still a hollow part in Jack's heart that could not be filled. Whenever he was alone, he would remember Sonny. If Sonny were alive, I wonder what he would be doing. He often thought about that. It was a Monday morning. Jack got up early as usual and headed to the site. However, as he passed through the industrial district, he saw a strange sight. A dog was tied up in the yard of the lumber depot next to the old factory. It was a medium-sized Border Collie with familiar markings. Jack stopped in his tracks. He felt like he had seen this dog somewhere before. That is weird. Why is a dog tied up in a place like that? Driven by curiosity, Jack approached the factory yard. When the dog noticed Jack, it gently wagged its tail. The expression on its face showed joy rather than caution. "Hey buddy, why are you here all alone?" As Jack got closer, the dog wagged its tail even more enthusiastically. But in that instant, Jack noticed something strange. He felt like he had seen this dog's figure somewhere. The size of the body, the color of the fur, and even the shape of the ears looked exactly like the Sonny he had owned as a child. But that was impossible. 10 years had already passed. "Excuse me, young man." A voice came from behind, and Jack turned around. A middle-aged man who seemed to work at the factory was approaching. "Oh, I am sorry, the dog was so beautiful. I just stopped to look." "Ah, it is fine. This guy showed up here a few days ago. We could not find the owner, so we are looking after him for now." Jack looked at the dog carefully one more time. It really was the spitting image of Sonny. Specifically, there was a small black spot between the toes on the right paw. "Mister, does this dog have a black spot between the toes on his right foot?" "Huh? How did you know that?" "Yeah, it is there, sure enough." Jack's heart beat violently. This was too precise to be a coincidence. But rationally thinking, it was an impossible story. "Mister, do you know where this dog came from?" "No, I do not know exactly. But he was just sitting here early in the morning a few days ago. Maybe someone abandoned him." Jack could not hold back anymore. He dropped to his knees and moved closer to the dog. The dog licked Jack's hand as if welcoming him. "Sonny, are you Sonny?" Responding to Jack's words, the dog wagged his tail even stronger. Then, he started licking Jack's face. It was as if he had been waiting for this moment forever. Tears overflowed from Jack's eyes. He could not understand what was happening, but he had one conviction in his heart. This dog was definitely his Sonny. "Mister, I am sorry, but would it be okay if I took this dog home? Actually, I think this is the dog I owned when I was a kid." The factory man looked surprised. "Really? So, you were the owner? Go ahead, take him home. He looks happy to have found his master." Jack untied the old rope from the dog's neck. The freed dog ran happily around Jack in circles. "Sonny, come on, let's go home." Jack took the day off work and brought Sonny home. It was a reunion after 10 years. But truly strangely, Sonny showed no sign of a 10-year gap with Jack. When they arrived at the apartment, Jack washed Sonny's body first. As he carefully washed away the dirt, the beautiful coat of fur reappeared. He looked exactly like the Sonny from his childhood. "Sonny, it really was you. How is this even possible?" Jack muttered to himself. It was something that could not be understood by common sense. But in his heart, he was able to accept it. Maybe this is what a miracle is. That night, Jack was able to sleep soundly for the first time in a long while. Watching Sonny sleep peacefully next to him, he felt like he had truly returned home after 10 years. But Jack did not know yet. This reunion was not just a coincidence, an even bigger miracle was waiting for him. Life with Sonny was like a dream. Every morning when Jack woke up, he looked at Sonny sleeping next to him and doubted if this was all reality. Did the Sonny who disappeared 10 years ago really come back? For the first few days, he was still half skeptical. But as time passed, his conviction deepened. Sonny's small habits were exactly the same as the old days. The way he started eating from the left side of the bowl. The way he spun around 3 times before lying down to sleep. and the way he would gently rest his head on Jack whenever Jack felt sad. It is truly a mystery. How can something like this be possible? Jack whispered as he stroked Sonny's fur. Considering the lifespan of a dog, it was an impossible story, but he could not deny the reality right in front of his eyes. However, the even more surprising thing was something else. Since Sonny came back, good things started happening to Jack one after another. First, it was at work. Mr. Thompson, the foreman, suddenly called Jack into his office. Jack had been a day laborer until then. "Jack, you always work seriously and hard. Do you want to become a full-time employee for the company?" Jack doubted his ears. Going from a day laborer to a full-time employee with benefits was like a dream for someone like him without a college degree. "Is that true? Can a guy like me become full-time?" "Of course, if you have the skill. That is enough. Plus, your reputation with the other guys is great. What do you say?" Jack answered without hesitation. "Thank you very much. I will work my hardest." On the way home, Jack's steps were light. He wanted to tell Sonny this good news as soon as possible. "Sonny, something good happened." When he opened the door, Sonny rushed over to welcome him. Jack picked Sonny up and celebrated. "It seems like it is thanks to you. Since you came back, nothing but good things have been happening." But the good things did not end there. The next day, the landlord of his apartment called. "Jack, how are you doing? Actually, I have something to discuss." Jack was worried that the rent was going to be raised. Real estate prices in the neighborhood had been going up recently. "Yes, what is it?" "Actually, I am going to be moving away. But since you have been living there so responsibly, I was thinking of lowering your rent a little bit. What do you think?" Jack was surprised once again. A price cut instead of a hike? Could such a thing really happen? "Really? Thank you so much. Tenants as good as you are hard to find. Keep taking care of the place." Hanging up the phone, Jack looked at Sonny. Sonny was wagging his tail as if he knew the situation. "Are you really bringing me good luck? Or is this all just a coincidence?" Jack remembered a story his grandmother used to tell him when he was a child. There is a story that animals bring good fortune to their owners. Dogs, in particular, are believed to protect their masters and bring luck. That night, he washed Sonny's body carefully. When he rinsed him with warm water, Sonny made a face that looked like pure bliss. "Sonny, thank you, really, thank you for coming back." Jack said this as he dried Sonny's body with a towel. And then, a question bubbled up. Where had Sonny been and what had he been doing for these 10 years? "Where were you all this time? It must have been hard." Sonny tilted his head as if he understood Jack's words. That gesture was exactly like when he was a puppy. And Jack unintentionally laughed. That night, he fell asleep comfortably. Seeing Sonny sleeping peacefully next to him warmed his heart. It was just like when he slept with Sonny as a child. But Jack still did not know. This good luck was not all just a coincidence. And there was an even bigger secret hidden with Sonny. A few days later, Jack harbored a question. He wanted to know what happened to Sonny after he was put on that truck 10 years ago. Was there anyone who saw Sonny at that time? Jack headed to the old neighborhood where he used to live. The old block, which he had not visited in years, had changed quite a bit. But there were a few familiar faces. Mrs. Miller, who lived next door, noticed Jack and called out happily. "Oh my, isn't that Jack? You have grown so much. Hello. Hello, Mrs. Miller. Thank you so much for giving me that dog back then." "Oh, you mean Sonny? That was so sad back then. He just disappeared so suddenly." Jack summoned his courage and asked, "Is there anyone who saw the truck that took Sonny that day?" Mrs. Miller thought for a moment and said, If it is that, old man Jenkins across the street said he saw it. He said he followed the truck to see where it was going." Jack's heart skipped a beat. Finally, he found a clue. It was a chance to trace Sonny's footsteps over the last 10 years. Jack's feelings were complicated on the way to visit old man Jenkins. On one hand, he wanted to know how Sonny had spent those 10 years, but on the other hand, he was terrified he might learn a horrible fact. He had heard scary stories about dog pounds since he was a kid. Old man Jenkins was the oldest resident in the neighborhood. Even at over 80 years old, he was energetic and knew all the local gossip. When Jack visited, he was tending to his bonsai trees in the yard. "Mr. Jenkins, hello, do you remember me? I am Jack. I used to live here." Old man Jenkins looked at Jack's face for a while before a gentle smile floated onto his face. "Oh, Jack, wow, you got big. You used to be so small. It has been a long time." "Yes, Mr. Jenkins. Actually, I have something I want to ask you. Do you remember the dog named Sonny that I had 10 years ago?" Mr. Jenkins' expression suddenly clouded. About that time, That was a pity, I cried so much myself. Do you know where the truck that took Sonny went? Mrs. Miller said that you followed it. Old man Jenkins sighed. That is right, I followed it back then. It just felt so wrong. Do you know where that truck went? Jack's heart beat violently. Where? It was the dog pound in the valley over the hill. I was so angry at the time. Taking a dog that a child loved so much to a place like that. Jack's face went pale. His worst fear had become reality. Sonny had been sold to the pound. So, Sonny was there. But, Jack, afterwards, I passed by that pound a few times, and something strange happened. Mr. Jenkins continued the story. That pound went out of business not long after. I guess the business did not go well. I heard the dogs that were there were moved to a different place. Jack felt a little relieved. At least Sonny was not in that terrifying place forever. Where is the different place? I do not know exactly, but I heard people from the Animal Rescue Center came at that time. There is a high possibility they were moved there. Hope lit up in Jack's heart. If it was an animal rescue center, it was at least better than the pound. But if so, how was Sonny able to come back to him? Mr. Jenkins, do you remember about when that pound closed down? Maybe about 2 years later? So, about 2 years after that incident with you. Jack calculated in his head. Sonny was at the pound for 2 years, and then spent 8 years somewhere else. Even so, surviving and coming back to him was a miracle. Mr. Jenkins looked at Jack's complicated expression and said, Jack, but why are you asking about Sonny now? Do not tell me. Actually, Mr. Jenkins, Sonny came back. We reunited the other day. Mr. Jenkins' eyes went wide. Say what? Is that true? Is something like that possible? Jack told him the story of the reunion with Sonny. Mr. Jenkins listened with an expression of astonishment. What a story. That is truly a miracle. Does stuff like that really happen? Yes, I could not believe it either. But it is definitely Sonny. Even the spot between his toes is the same. I see. They say animals do not forget their owners. Especially dogs. Sonny must have remembered you all this time. Jack. Something hot welled up in Jack's chest. Sonny had remembered him for these 10 years. And he thought that the dog had tried to return to him somehow. Mr. Jenkins, but I have one more thing I want to ask. Who was it that sold Sonny to the pound? Mr. Jenkins' expression clouded again. That, Jack, it wasn't your stepmother. Jack received a shock. Until now, he had been convinced that Linda had thrown Sonny away. Then who? It was your father. I saw it with my own eyes. Your stepmother was desperately trying to stop him. But your father would not listen. Jack was shocked and lost his words. His father sold Sonny. For 10 years, he had continued to resent Linda. But the real culprit was someone else. Why would Dad do such a thing? Well, times were tough back then. Your dad's work probably wasn't going well. But, even so, selling a dog that a child treasures is something that should never be done. Jack was confused. The target of the hatred he had held for 10 years had switched. Not Linda, but Dad. Jack, but now Sonny is back. You should let the past flow away like water. What is important is now. Mr. Jenkins was right. However, Jack could not sort out his feelings immediately. He felt ashamed of himself for having been cold to Linda all this time. On the way home, Jack was deep in thought. He had grasped Sonny's trail to some extent and learned the truth of that day 10 years ago. What should he do from now on? When he got home, Sonny welcomed him happily, as if sensing Jack's complicated feelings. The dog sat gently by his side. Sonny, you had a hard time too, didn't you? Anyway, thank you for coming back alive. Jack hugged Sonny and spoke. He did not know what magic allowed them to reunite, but he swore in his heart never to lose this dog again. But Jack still did not know. The true miracle brought by Sonny was only just beginning. For a few days after hearing Mr. Jenkins' story, Jack was in turmoil. He had resented Linda for 10 years, but it was his father who sold Sonny. He was made to realize how much he had misunderstood. Jack summoned his courage and called his parents' house. The voice he heard on the line was Linda's, a voice he had not heard in a long time. Hello? Mum, it is me, Jack. He could tell Linda gasped on the other end of the phone. Oh my, Jack, it has been a while. Are you doing okay? Yes, I am good. Are you doing okay, Mum? Yes, I am fine, but what is wrong? I am happy you called, but I am worried. Jack hesitated and then spoke. Mum, is it okay if I come home for a bit to talk? Of course, anytime. It is your home. The next afternoon, Jack returned to the house where he lived as a child for the first time in a long time. He took Sonny with him. He wanted to show him to Linda. When he opened the gate and entered, Linda came out to greet him. However, When she saw Sunny, her face went pale. "Oh my, that dog, it cannot be." "Yes, it is. It is Sunny. We reunited the other day." Linda stared at Sunny with tears in her eyes. "Is it really Sunny? How could something like this happen?" Sitting in the living room, Jack told the story of his reunion with Sunny. Linda listened with a surprised face. "It really is a story like a miracle. I am so glad, really." Jack brought up the subject carefully. "Mum, actually, I came today because I wanted to apologize to you." "Apologize? For what?" "I always assumed that you were the one who threw Sunny away. That is why I resented you and treated you coldly. I am truly sorry." Large tears spilled from Linda's eyes. "Jack, so you thought that?" "I heard it from Mr. Jenkins. That the one who sold Sunny wasn't you, but Dad, and that you tried to stop him." Linda remained silent for a while. Then, she let out a deep sigh and spoke. "Jack, actually, there is something I haven't been able to tell you properly." "What is it?" "That day was a really terrible day. Your father suddenly said he was going to sell Sunny. I was surprised and stopped him." Linda began to tell the details of that day. "Your father's company was in really bad shape. He hadn't been paid in months, and our household budget was on fire. At that time, he heard a story that there was someone who wanted to buy a Border Collie like Sunny for a high price." Jack listened silently. "I opposed it. I said that no matter how hard it gets, we cannot sell the dog that Jack treasures. But your father said, we cannot even pay the electricity bill right now. Where do we have the luxury to keep a dog?" Linda's voice was trembling. "Even that morning, I stopped him one last time. I said, at least talk to Jack first. But your father said, he is just going to oppose it anyway. What is the point of talking? And he called the dealer while you were at school and let him take Sunny." Jack's chest hurt. He realized Linda had been suffering back then too. "When you came home crying, my heart really felt like it was going to burst. Why didn't you tell me the truth back then?" Linda looked down. "I am sorry. At that time, I was worried that you would end up hating your father too. I wondered what would happen to you if you hated your father on top of missing your mother." Jack understood Linda's feelings. It was a heart trying to protect his young self. "So, I thought it would be better if I became the bad guy. Since I am not your real mother anyway, I thought it couldn't be helped if you hated me." "Mum," Jack held Linda's hand. She had carried this heavy burden alone for 10 years. "I am the one who is sorry. I was too much of a child to understand your feelings. No, I am the one who should apologize. I should have told you sooner." The two sat in silence for a while. Sunny sat quietly at Jack's feet as if he understood the situation. "But Jack, the truly strange thing is that Sunny came back. Is such a thing really possible?" "Yes, I cannot believe it either. It is like magic." Linda looked at Sunny and said, "Maybe Sunny came back to make us, parent and child, reconcile." Jack thought so too. Since Sunny came back, nothing but good things had continued. And being able to reconcile with Linda today was also thanks to Sunny. "Oh, and Jack, do not tell your father about this conversation yet. Your father regrets what happened back then very much too. So let's talk slowly when there is time later." "Okay, I understand." On the way home, Jack felt his heart becoming lighter. The misunderstanding of 10 years was resolved, and it seemed like his relationship with Linda could be restored. Sunny walked quietly next to Jack. It was as if he understood everything that happened today. "Sunny, did you really come back to make our family reconcile?" Sunny looked up at Jack and gently wagged his tail. In that figure, Jack sensed a special meaning. However, the real miracle was only just beginning. The greatest gift Sunny would bring to Jack was still waiting ahead. A few weeks after reconciling with Linda, Jack's heart was much lighter. But his relationship with his father remained awkward. He knew he had to talk to him someday, but he couldn't quite find the courage. That day, Jack was working at the construction site as usual. Since becoming a full-time employee, his passion for work had increased. His colleagues noticed the change in Jack too. "Jack, you look brighter lately. Did something good happen?" Mr. Thompson asked. Jack laughed and answered, "Yes, I found something I had lost." "What did you find?" "A precious friend." Jack didn't go into details, but he felt happy from the bottom of his heart. It seemed like everything had changed since Sunny came back. At 5 p.m., work ended, and Jack was on his way home. He wanted to see Sunny quickly. Seeing Sunny welcome him happily every day was the happiest moment of the day. When he got home, Sunny's behavior was different from usual. Usually, he would rush to the door, but today he was strangely quiet. "Sunny, what is wrong? Are you feeling sick?" Jack worried as he petted Sunny. However, there didn't seem to be anything particularly wrong physically. He ate his dinner and went for his walk as usual. However, that night, a strange thing happened. It must have been around 2 a.m. Jack woke up to the sound of Sonny barking. Sonny, who almost never barked in the middle of the night, was barking continuously today. Sonny, what is it? Did something happen? Sonny was staring out the window and barking. He seemed to be alerting Jack to something. Jack looked in the direction of Sonny's gaze. Out the window. At first, he couldn't see anything. However, when he looked closely, he saw a strange light flickering from the direction of the construction site. Fire! What is going on at the site at this hour? Jack hurriedly put on his clothes and ran outside. Sonny followed right behind him. As they got closer to the site, the smell of burning grew stronger. This is bad. It smells like smoke. When he arrived at the site, Jack was horrified. Smoke was rising from a corner of the temporary office trailer. It seemed a small fire had started. Hey, this is dangerous. Jack rushed to the office. But, even more surprisingly, the lights were on inside the office. It seemed someone was inside. Is anyone there? Is anyone inside? Jack shouted, but there was no reply. When he opened the door, Tommy, the youngest worker on the crew, was slumped over his desk sleeping. It seemed he had fallen asleep while working overtime. Tommy, Tommy, Jack shook Tommy awake. Tommy opened his eyes. Jack, why are you here? What time is it? It is 2 a.m. It is a fire. Get out, quick. Tommy finally understood the situation. Whoa, you are right. It smells like smoke. The two panicked and ran out of the office. Fortunately, the fire wasn't huge. It seemed a small short circuit was the cause. Jack hurriedly contacted the fire department, and the fire was extinguished by the firefighters who rushed to the scene. There was no major damage, but if discovery had been delayed, it could have led to a major accident. You were really lucky. If it had been a little later, it would have been a disaster, a firefighter said. Tommy wiped the sweat from his forehead and thanked Jack. Jack, thank you so much. If you hadn't been there, I would have been in trouble. No, actually, I wasn't the one who found it. Jack looked at Sonny. Sonny was sitting there quietly, watching the situation. It was as if he had finished his duty. Actually, my dog kept barking in the middle of the night, and that woke me up. Then I looked outside and saw this happening. The firefighter made a surprised face. Huh, is that so? The dog sensed the fire first. Dogs have a sharp sense of smell, so they sometimes sense danger faster than humans. Tommy was looking at Sonny too. What a smart dog. He is like a rescue dog. Jack petted Sonny. Sonny, thank you, really, if you weren't here, it would have been a disaster. Sonny looked satisfied being petted by Jack. The next day, this news spread throughout the construction site. The story that Jack's dog sensed a fire in advance and saved a person. Jack, your dog is a hero. Wow, that is a truly mysterious story. How did the dog know that? All the colleagues were surprised by Sonny's story. The site foreman, Mr. Thompson, also called Jack over to thank him. Thanks to you, Jack, we were able to prevent a major accident. Thank you very much. No, actually I didn't do anything. It was all Sonny. Ha ha ha, even so, it is because you took action immediately. Keep up the good work. Jack felt proud. Thanks to Sonny, he was able to do something good. And more than anything, he was relieved he could protect Tommy's safety. On the way home, Jack spoke to Sonny. Sonny, you are really amazing. How did you know that in advance? Sonny walked next to Jack as usual. However, in that figure, Jack felt something special. He felt that Sonny wasn't just a dog with a sharp nose, but an existence with a heart that truly wanted to protect people. That night, he hugged Sonny and thanked him. Sonny, I am so glad you came back. Let's do lots of good things together from now on. Sonny was sleeping peacefully in Jack's arms. But Jack still didn't know. This event wasn't just a coincidence, it was just the beginning of an even bigger miracle. Since the fire incident, Sonny became famous in the area. Rumors of the dog that saved a human life spread in the blink of an eye. At first, Jack felt the attention was a bit bothersome, but gradually he began to feel proud. A few days later, an unexpected phone call came. It was a request for an interview from the local TV station. Hello, this is the local WKBS News. We heard the story about the dog that sensed a fire and saved a life. And we would like to come for an interview. Jack hesitated. It was his first time appearing on TV. And more than anything, he was worried it might stress Sonny out. The interview won't take long. We just want to ask a few brief questions and get some shots of Sonny. Eventually, Jack decided to accept the interview. He thought Sonny's story might give hope to many people. On the day of the interview, A reporter and a cameraman came to Jack's house. Sonny approached the strangers in a friendly manner. "Wow, he is so gentle. Is this the dog that sensed the fire?" "Yes, he suddenly started barking at dawn. And when I looked outside, the site was burning." The reporter continued asking questions with a surprised face. "Was he always this smart of a dog?" Jack hesitated a little before speaking. "Actually, this is a dog I owned when I was a child. He disappeared 10 years ago. But recently we reunited." 10 years ago? What a miraculous story. How did you reunite? Jack told the story of his reunion with Sonny. Both the reporter and the cameraman couldn't hide their surprise. It is like a story from a movie. A beloved dog reunites after 10 years and then saves a person's life. When the interview ended, the reporter said, "This story will be broadcast on tomorrow evening's news. It is such a feel-good story. I think the viewers will love it." The next evening, Jack watched the news with his colleagues. Seeing himself and Sonny on the small screen gave him a strange feeling. Today's heartwarming news. There was an amazing event where a beloved dog sensed a fire in advance and prevented human casualties. The news reported the story of Jack and Sonny in detail along with footage of the fire scene. And at the end, the story of the 10-year reunion was also introduced. Truly a miracle story. A beloved dog reunited after 10 years. And that dog has now saved a human life. When the news aired, the response was huge. Jack's phone rang all day long. Friends, colleagues, and even strangers called. "Jack, I saw the news. Sonny is amazing." "Jack, we saw it too. We were really moved. Can we come see Sonny sometime?" A few days later, neighbors started coming to see Sonny, especially children, who came in droves. "Mister, did this dog really save a person?" "Wow, it is Sonny. He is so cute." The children looked at Sonny with sparkling eyes. Sonny seemed to like children too. He stayed still while being petted and wagged his tail. One old woman looked at Sonny and teared up. "Looking at such a good boy reminds me of a dog I used to own." Dogs are truly nobler than humans. Seeing such reactions, Jack felt proud. Sonny was giving joy and emotion to many people. However, a few days later, something even more surprising happened. There was a phone call from City Hall. "Hello, this is the City Planning Department. We heard Sonny's story, and we were wondering if you would participate in the Founders' Day Parade." The Founders' Day Parade? Yes, at this year's festival, we are setting up a Heroes of Our Town segment. And we would like to introduce Sonny there. I think many citizens will be moved. Jack thought about it. He was worried about Sonny becoming too famous. But since it was a good thing, it probably wouldn't be bad. "Yes, we will participate." On the day of the Founders' Day Parade, Jack and Sonny went up on stage. Many citizens welcomed them with applause. The mayor presented them with a certificate of appreciation. "Sonny and Jack, thank you truly. It is because of presences like you that our city becomes a warmer town." Even after leaving the stage, many people came to see Sonny. They took photos and petted him. Sonny was friendly to everyone. On the way home that day, Jack held the certificate and spoke to Sonny. "Sonny, we have become huge celebrities. It is all thanks to you." Sonny walked next to Jack as usual. However, there was a sense of confidence in his figure. It was as if he was proud of what he had done. That night, he called Linda. "Mum, we went to the Founders' Day Parade today." "Oh my, really? I saw it on the news. I was so proud. It is all thanks to Sonny. Since Sonny came back, only good things happen. It is really like a miracle. Maybe Sonny brings good luck." Hanging up the phone, Jack looked at Sonny. Sonny really was an existence that brought miracles to him. From the reunion after 10 years, to the success at work, the harmony with his family, and this moving event. "Sonny, you have completely changed my life. Thank you, really." But Jack still didn't know. The true conclusion of the miracle was still ahead. A few weeks after the Founders' Day Parade, Jack's heart was much lighter. But the relationship with his father was still awkward. Although he had reconciled with Linda, he hadn't been able to talk to his father in a real sense yet. That day, Jack was working at the construction site as usual. Since becoming a full-time employee, his enthusiasm for work had increased. His colleagues also noticed Jack's change. One Saturday afternoon, Jack made a big decision. He decided to face his father and talk. He had reconciled with Linda, but he still hadn't spoken properly with his dad. He took Sonny and headed to the small auto repair shop where his father worked. It had been a truly long time since he visited his father's workplace. "Dad." His father, who was fixing a radio in the back of the shop, was surprised by Jack's voice and looked up. "Oh, Jack, what is wrong, coming to a place like this?" On his father's face, there was surprise and an expression that looked somewhat apologetic. And when he saw Sonny standing next to Jack, his face went pale. That dog, it cannot be. Yeah, it is Sonny, we reunited. His father was lost for words for a while. Then, he slowly put down his tools and stood in front of Jack. Jack, I am truly sorry, Dad. Dad really regrets what happened back then. How could I do such a thing to a dog you treasured so much? I did a truly terrible thing. Jack saw tears welling up in his father's eyes. His father, who had never shown weakness in his life, had tears accumulating in his eyes. Back then, it was just too hard. I only had money on my mind. But that is no excuse. I couldn't think about your feelings. Dad, I understand too. I know you were having a hard time. No, you cannot understand. You shouldn't understand, no matter how hard it was. It was something I shouldn't have done. Dad was wrong. His father knelt down and approached Sonny. Sonny seemed cautious at first, but eventually accepted his father's hand. Sonny, I am truly sorry for sending you to a place like that back then. Sonny licked his father's hand. It was as if he was forgiving him. Seeing that, his father shed even more tears. What a good boy, thank you for coming back. Jack's chest felt hot too. He felt the lump he had carried in his heart for 10 years melting away. Dad, it is okay now. Sonny is back, and we can start over as a family again. Jack, will you forgive your dad? Of course, you were having a hard time too. Dad. That night, the whole family gathered around the dinner table for the first time in ages. Dad, Linda, Jack, and Sonny. It felt like they had finally become one family again after many years. Sonny really brought our family back together, didn't he? Linda said while petting Sonny. Sonny was wagging his tail with a satisfied face. It is truly strange. How did something like this happen? His father still had a face that said he couldn't believe it. It is a miracle, Dad. It is a miracle Sonny brought to us. A few days later, Jack made an even bigger decision. He decided to move from his studio apartment to a bigger house. He wanted to start a new life with Sonny. On the day of the move, Jack took out a small box he had kept tucked away. Inside was a red bandana collar that Sonny used to wear when he was a child. He had kept it for 10 years without throwing it away, because he couldn't completely throw away the hope that Sonny would come back someday. Sonny, do you remember this? When Jack showed the ribbon collar to Sonny, Sonny wagged his tail happily. It was as if he really remembered. Jack gently tied the ribbon around Sonny's neck. He looked exactly like he did 10 years ago. Now everything is really back to normal. This is our new start. The new house was a rental with 2 bedrooms and a small yard. There was space for Sonny to run around. Jack even built a small doghouse for Sonny in the yard. How is it? Do you like it, Sonny? Sonny happily explored every corner of the new house. He seemed to like the yard especially. That evening, Jack went out into the yard and sat with Sonny. The warm sunset enveloped the area. Sonny, thank you, really, because you came back. My life has completely changed. Jack looked back on losing Sonny 10 years ago, the family discord, and the lonely days, and he thought about the changes since Sonny came back. Becoming a full-time employee, reconciling with Linda, talking to his father, and moving many people. It was all a miracle brought by Sonny. You really are an angel who brought me a miracle. Sonny rested his head on Jack's knee and lay down comfortably. That pose was exactly like when he was a child. And Jack unintentionally laughed. Let's live happily together forever from now on. I will never let you go again. The warm sunset wrapped around Jack and Sonny. It was the moment the pain of 10 years healed. And a new hope began. Sonny looked up at Jack and gently wagged his tail. In those eyes, deep love and a message saying, I am really happy too, were contained. Thus, the miracle story of Jack and Sonny reached a conclusion with a new happy beginning. The pain of losing a loved one and the joy of reuniting. And above all, the unchanging love for each other, gave birth to a true miracle. There are strange things in the world that cannot be explained, like the story of Jack and Sonny, but that miracle might not be just a coincidence, but the result brought about by true love for each other. Sonny's miracle has ended, but Jack and Sonny's new story has only just begun. 124.5s